This story doesn't start with a disappearing truck, but it certainly feels like it does. In 1989, two things happened at once that would deeply impact my career. The first was that I began recording what would become my Leap of Faith album. The second was that Don Ider became president of Columbia Records. I'd been with Columbia since the very beginning, through 8 Loggins and Messina albums and 7 solo ones. I'd sold millions of records and reached the top of the charts, just not that much of late. It had been 3 years since Danger Zone and 5 years since Footloose. Given that I hadn't had a top 10 album since 1978, company execs were beginning to wonder if I still had it. Among Einer's first orders of business was to figure out the label's obligations, and when he got around to reviewing my contract, he saw that I was already $500,000 into studio costs and counting for Leap of Faith, and not a person on his staff had actually heard the music. From where I sat, though, that $500,000 was money well spent. So much music was pouring through me that Leap of Faith had all but written itself, every word and note falling perfectly into place. Melodic ideas scored my dreams so frequently that I kept a tape recorder next to the bed. For the first time in my life, I could imagine complete songs as if they were playing on my stereo. The arc of the album was following the arc of my life, and I was writing it all as it unfolded before me. I innately understood everything I wanted the music to be. Columbia had recently been acquired by Sony, and the new boss was busy slashing the slumping label's artist roster, ultimately cutting loose a third of the acts. I'd already spent a ton of their money on my new record, and it wasn't even finished yet. I grew nervous. Would I be the next to go? The West Coast head of A&R for Columbia, a guy named Ron Oberman, certainly thought so. He lobbied Einer to drop me from the label as part of the overall house-cleaning efforts. Luckily for me, my old friend Bobby Columbi, the founding drummer of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, had recently become the senior VP for creative development, not just for Columbia Records, but for all of Sony Music. When Einer called Bobby to get his take on who he might cut from the label, Bobby convinced him I should stay by promising to personally shepherd my new project. Apparently, Columbia and Oberman had quite the confrontation over it. The urban legend is that Bobby held Ron out the second-story window until he reassessed his position. I doubt anything like that actually happened, but Bobby's a native New Yorker, and I wouldn't have put it past him. At the very least, it illustrates the kind of passionate support he gave me. Before too long, I received word that Don wanted to hear what I'd recorded. He set a meeting for a month out. Trouble was, Leap of Faith was still in bits and pieces at that point. I didn't even have any rough mixes ready to show him, let alone all the overdubs I'd planned. None of the songs even sounded like a record yet. I had a lot of work ahead of me to make it right, and it was increasingly clear that Donnie's opinion would be the deciding factor when it came to my future with Columbia. Yeah, it was kind of stressful. As it happened, Einer's message arrived just as I was packing up my operation for a move from LA to Santa Barbara. By that point, the basic tracks were in place, and I wanted to do the overdubs, my vocals, a ton of percussion, lots of secondary instrumentation closer to home. Into the truck went our amps, guitars, microphones, stands, speakers, along with 2 Mitsubishi 32-track digital recorders and the big 18-inch reels containing the master tapes. I had 30 days to get everything ready for my big meeting, and I needed every minute of them. Then it all went sideways.